Hi, I'm Nadia, an actor, poet and theatre maker from Scarborough. A few weeks ago the SJT got in touch and asked if I wanted to be involved in their summer school. This is what I made. There you are. Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you doing?
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much for being a part of this.
No, thanks for asking me. It's so cool. It's a really good idea.
It's so funny, I was just in my own little bubble and organising it, being poets, and then I was driving to Manchester and I was like, Toby, of course. Could you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do and where you're based?
So I'm Toby Campion. I'm a poet and performer and playwright and facilitator and producer, and I'm currently based in London.
So what got you interested in poetry?
I've always written poems and stories and bits and bobs when I was younger. And then I worked in America for a summer. I worked in New York and made some friends there and ended up visiting them afterwards, and went to North Carolina, where I went to my first ever poetry slam and discovered spoken word and what that was, and kind of realized that I'd already been writing some things like that but hadn't really known that existed. So it was a bit of a epiphany moment for me of what was available to perform in, and then after that I kind of really got into it and started writing a lot more.
So how would you describe your work or the things that you are interested in writing about?
I don't know, I'm really interested in, at the moment I'm really interested in creating poetry that works just as well on the page as it does with the live audience, and I'm thinking a lot more about how my poetry works on the page and the differences between those two spaces, and trying to create harmony between them where possible, because I don't think it is necessarily always possible or desirable for every single poem to be in both. And I guess at the moment I'm kind of writing about or thinking about dating, loneliness, the queer experience, I guess how queer history in the UK and around the world still affects the lives of queer people today, like the oppressions of the past affecting queer life today, but in different ways, and in relationships between gay men, for example, and the ways we interact. I'm interested in that, or I'm kind of thinking about that when I'm writing at the moment.
Polari was a secret language variety that was used by gay men and queer people in Britain before the 1960s. This poem is called Oyster. And I shut my sheesh screech. He said, cut the cackle, fag. My tongue was Dina's, he did a knob. With a moo he stitched up, brought in my hungry chavvy. Said, show me how loving me reefs. He said, order. I ordered. Said, vagari, I vagaried. Charpering to be needed, Adobe'd in ice for weeks, boudoir when it breaks. His fever met with a coddy, it's Ben to say it's boner. In your letty, the Omi at the same time wants to tip your brandy and batty fang you. I savvy how it goes when an Omi with Vera after every lamb Adobe's out as mooey. I savvy how it goes. I'd varder him to the sink straight after tight oyster, who charpered to not palaver me. I've been palavered by flatties. Been an Omi's screech's secret too. I too have been the secret on a man's lips. Been spoken by someone who wished they didn't need to speak me. Clenched jaw, straight to the sink after I would watch him wash his mouth out with gin after each kiss. I know what it is to feel desired and despised at the same time by the same person in the same bed, to tell yourself this is normal, this is fine, to answer his fever with your body something drinkable when it breaks. I have bathed in ice for weeks, waiting to be necessary. He said go, and I went. He said come, and I came. He said, show me how it feels to love me. I brought him a hungry child who had sewn her own mouth shut. He rattled his tin, my tongue became coins. He said, shut your mouth, faggot. And I shut my faggot mouth.
Yeah, I didn't know what Polari was until I read your poem. So
yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, I mean that this whole language is, I mean, I think it's really cool, and the origins of it are really interesting. A lot of it parts of it come from Romani, and parts of it come from different European languages and prison lingo, or partly rhyming slang. So it's got all of these different influences that are kind of in some ways underground, or but yeah, it's really interesting.
what advice would you give to somebody interested in writing poetry?
I would say write the poetry, do it. I'd say write the poetry. That's my advice. I'd say the more that you get on, the more you do writing, and if you realize, oh, this is something that I'm really interested in, I'd recommend going to see some live poetry or reading poetry. But I think if you're just starting out, it's fine to just be writing at the beginning. I think a lot of people say the first rule of writing is reading, and I think that is true in a lot of ways, but I think it's not helpful to say that at the very beginning when you're just kind of exploring things, because I was never a prolific reader when I was younger, and I think in a lot of ways to begin with I felt like I didn't have a right to be writing because I wasn't reading enough. And I think that's its own gatekeeping. I think that's its own way of stopping people from writing or expressing themselves.
As a child, I don't know how many times I got nits. My mum would drag me to the bathroom maybe twice a month. In peak season, God, how has this happened again? Out came that white comb, the 12-minute head lice solution, and the victim blaming. Have you been playing with Gemma Mason again? Notorious nit carrier. Of course I've been playing with Gemma again. She had a sparkly pencil case and smelled like fruit pastels. Head over basin, my mum would pour that lemony petrol through my hair, and I would sit still for 12 whole minutes. Feel the crawling below the scalp come to an end. Wait for her to scrape the skeletons from my head until it was mine again. As an adult, I don't know how many times I have longed for nits. For their explicability, their solution, a way to account for the crawling below my scalp. God, how has this happened again? I have dragged myself to the bathroom, dry-mouthed with the bottle and the thirst for blame. Spent nights head over basin, pouring petrol through my hair, telling myself that forever is made up of 12 minutes, just over and over again, 12 minutes, and if I sit still for long enough, 12 minutes will bring a flame, or blade, or flood to scrape the scuttling from my head, until it's mine again.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I'm alright, how are you?
Thank you. Thanks so much for agreeing to be a part of this.
No, I'm glad that I can be. It seems quite fun, and I hope it's like beneficial to the people who get to watch it.
Okay, so please could you start with telling us who you are, what you do, and where you're based?
Cool, so my name is Suhaiymah Manzoor-Khan. I am a poet and a writer, and I live in Leeds, and I'm from Leeds, between Bradford and Leeds. So yeah, that's mainly what I do. It's a bit weird. I always feel a bit weird describing it, but I kind of go performing in different places, giving workshops about helping others to write poetry.
So how would you describe your work now and how you've evolved from writing privately to performing publicly?
Yeah. So I think now I see my work, my poetry and my spoken word as more connected to also like kind of educating and advocacy work that I do as well. So for me, there's not really a distinction between, oh, this is my art and this is my politics. It's like actually my poetry is very political, and I actually think it's one of the most important ways that we spread messages. And, you know, if there is kind of a cause that you're invested in or interested in, for me, it's like I think my engagement with poetry has gone more from it being about sort of personally just trying to think through different feelings, work out how I feel about things, to then actually being like, hey, this resonates with people. People are receiving this. So let me also make this about these bigger questions that I have about the society we live in, like who, the things and the people and the governments that I want to hold to account. And so I think it's moved in the direction of also, I guess I've recognized poetry as also this tool that we have. And if you look historically, poetry has always been this tool that people have used, whether that's political prisoners, whether that's, anti-colonial rebels, whether it's just insurgents at different time in history. It's like poetry is something I think that's really, I think people mistake it as just being just art. It's about just creativity and art. But actually, art's always political. So to me, it's something that actually you can teach people things through poetry. You can protest through poetry. You can, disrupt ideas through poetry. So yeah, I think that's definitely have. I think my love of it and my understanding of what you can do with poetry has grown and developed over time.
Young Muslims in Britain often straddle two worlds. They appear to have a foot in each culture. Concerns revealed around the national identification of Muslims in Britain. Review raises alarm over social integration in the UK schools to promote fundamental British values. The face of Britain is changing beyond recognition. I look in the mirror. It's not shattered. I am whole. No one foot in, one foot out. No reason I've got to learn Britishness from the somehow more devout. I'm not uneasy, torn, or straddling. It's not shattered, I am whole. Yet the opposite is somehow all that you'll get told. I mean, I guess because if we faced up to the glass, you'd be left with the fact that I am inside. I am Britain now. Because Britain is Bismillah. Britain is basmati rice. Britain is box braids and black barbers shops, Bollywood and Bhangra. Britain is body popping outside the tube. Britain is Brick Lane before it was cool. Britain is bilingual. Britain is the burqa. Britain is praying in the changing rooms. Britain has its feet in your sink. Britain is bad at knowing itself, belligerent and boring. Britain has not changed beyond recognition. Recognize it was never one thing. I am the inside you pretend is outside, but we have to stop pretending. Pretending the rolling hills are just romantic, not remnants of injustices swept under a rug. Like the tea didn't come from Asia, like its sugar wasn't grown by slaves, like dry humour isn't a way to just ridicule dissent and cues don't expose the way we're always told to wait for change rather than making it. And it's funny that over-apologising is seen as a national trait, because half of history is still waiting. I look in the mirror. It's not shattered, I am whole, there is no brink or turning point, I'm here. Britain is barbaric. Oh, sorry, did you think that was me? Barbaric bystander straddling the boundary, not quite inside, so you could say I'm the things you forgot, like you're modern, so I'm backwards, you're democratic, so you say I'm not. When the truth is, Britain is blood on its hands and back to the wall. Britain is selling weapons to the most repressive regimes in the world. Britain is the bombs the Saudis drop on Yemen. Britain is building surveillance apparatus since 9/11. Britain is believing in human rights whilst removing them all. Britain is Yards Wood, Brook House, Colne Brook and Morton Hall. Britain is 1,600 dead in or after police custody since 1990, and Britain has no qualms about detaining asylum seekers indefinitely. Britain is suicide attempts, secret courts and secret torture. Britain is stopping you at the border. Britain is seeing it, saying it, sorting it, which means Britain is also deporting it, because what else do you do when you look in the mirror and find the sugar and tea had strings attached? The factories on the rolling hills depended on our labour. The bombs destroyed the homes of kids now at the border. Britain is barbaric. Britain is blindly patriotic. Britain is built on false narratives, slices of other people's dishes. Britain is stolen artefacts in museums named after itself. Britain is knife and fork polite, stabbing you at will. Britain is selective. Yours till it's not, in yours till it's not, then blaming you. Britain is borders, Britain is Brexit, Britain is spending on weddings but not fireproofing homes. Britain is cutting mental health services yet somehow strong and stable. Britain is 40% of young people in custody being from ethnic minority backgrounds, and Britain is blaming them for this statistic rather than asking difficult questions, because Britain is blaming the kids who aren't white. Britain is blaming the immigrants. Britain is blaming the Muslims. Britain is blaming bureaucracy. Britain is not listening. Britain is not that great. Britain is breaking, but breaking everywhere except the place it puts the blame. Because there's only a few things left that are great about Britain. And they're that Britain is Bismillah, basmati and bilingual, box braids and black barbers shops, Bollywood and Bhangra, body popping outside the tube, Brick Lane before it was cool, Britain is the burqa. Britain is praying in the changing rooms, Britain has its feet in your sink, Britain is your greatest nightmare, every repercussion you never thought through, Britain is the mind to be got inside, Britain is the terror to be countered. I am the great and great Britain now, and aren't you terrified?
that leads on to my next question. Why do you think the world needs poets?
That's a great question. I think the world needs poets because poets are maybe the only people who are allowed to speak the truth without some of the consequences that we sometimes have in other spaces, or are kind of allowed to be brave enough to speak the truth. Because I think, again, it goes back to that thing of poetry is seen as something that's art, which then allows you to do kind of more things with it than you could if I was asked to give a speech somewhere. I think it's harder to then be as brave or bring in all your rage, all your feelings, all your joy, all your sadness, all those feelings, because I think no other form of speaking really allows you to do what poetry does, where with poetry you can say, these feelings are mine and they're important and they resonate with other people. And if we have these feelings, that means something is wrong in society and that means this and that. And yeah, I think the world couldn't really, otherwise everything that we do in the world would just be reduced to sort of stats and, like documents and archives. And that's fine. And those things all have a place. But I think poetry translates something very human, very innate into this kind of conversation and dialogue.
For the interview side of it, it's just good if we can start by you introducing yourself, just telling us who you are, what you do, and where you're based, please.
Hello, my name is Martin Dawes. I live in Bethesda in Gwynedd in North Wales. I've been a spoken word poet since 1994. I first got inspired, and I've been trying to do my best at that ever since. My background is in music and trying to find lyricism in words and the spoken word. So that's led me into rapping, it's led me into music production, it's led me into musicianship. For me, what I try and do with words is particularly try and create meaning so people can have a response, a meaningful experience to hearing what I'm saying. In a way, telling my story so other people can reflect back my story to me makes me more knowledgeable in myself. It's a reflection. But then, of course, when we're building our knowledge on reflections of each other, we make each other stronger and we build communities through that. So I see that as being a function of culture. And I'm involved in participatory arts, community arts. I see culture as a living, everyday thing, not really something that just exists in art centres and theatres.
Under the slates, we are earth people. Long have we hidden in the rock-heavy heart and harboured our strengths among the agonies of stone. Ours is the granite, wind-withered to pinnacles, and the whispered secrets passed behind its screen. And the dark slate, blasted into fragments of its nature, shattered forgotten bodies, patterned random, heaped on houses, dropped on churches, silenced hymns, from buried villages lost to light. We mourn our eagles, count our sheep. Lay our seed on crusted bed springs, spine shrunk with the gravity, dreams pulled out of starflight, driven back to bone, to earth, to wakeful vision roar with piling rock against the sun. We are the subjects of a skyline, held in its hard embrace, its dark love, a sanctuary for our healing.
My politics are pretty progressive, and it occurred to me a few years ago that what we were experiencing in the UK around the rise of nationalism and the process towards the Brexit referendum, that the alternative right were using all the power words. They were co-opting the language that we used, and even Brexit itself. You know, whether you agree with the politics of Brexit or not, it's a really powerful brand as a word. You know, it just says it all in one word, doesn't it? Bang. It sounds good. It looks good. It's interesting to look at. It's everything there. And the option to that was Remain, which was sort of always playing into the hands of people who wanted change. It's like, oh, we're just going to stay the same. It sounds boring. It stayed. And I really made a commitment to try and put other words into people's minds to counter that movement of co-opting language into proto-fascism, in my opinion. And I really wanted to make a commitment that if people heard my work, they'd go away with words in their minds that would be a counterweight to that and allow people to have some positivity and hope.
Together, get 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 together, got to get together, get together, got to get together, get together, speaking mother tongue of the one with people just keeping the circles complete, we live in rhythm within the beat, speaking mother tongue of the one with people just keeping the circles complete, we live in rhythm within the beat, speaking mother tongue of the one with people just keeping the circles complete, we live in rhythm within the beat, we give in left to the lyric, linking the cycle of spirits, connecting our feeling with meaning to the one we pull together. Get together, got to get together, to get together, get together, to get together, got to get together, to get together, get together, to get together, got to get together, to get together, got to get together, to get together, got to get together, bridging our divisions with rhythm, we pull together, bridging our divisions with rhythm, we pull together.
I think I have to reiterate what I said before. If the world needs spoken word and poetry, it's because the world needs to understand itself. So we share our stories and other people can understand us better, but through them understanding us, we get to understand ourselves better. And that process of reflection creates rapport and it helps us to build our identities, but it builds our identities through understanding and also negotiation, that we negotiate who we are in response to other people, and that's a communal activity. So we're building community through that, and we're building communities of understanding.
It's Saturday afternoon, Asda Farrer Road, 0 hour, and all the clocks are broken. Tick, keep pushing the trolley, keep looking the other way. I'm knee deep in till receipts, blood printed with pound signs. Tock, keep pushing the trolley, keep providing day to day. The checkout assistants have formed a board chorus, calling to each other across the overstocked product aisles. They're singing, one more small step. Tick, keep pushing the trolley, keep looking the other way. Food bank basket nausea sludges in on all my family's savings. Tock, keep pushing the trolley, keep providing day to day. The busker by the entrance plays Bob Marley for brown cash. Yeah, I know his family together, we've watched him fading. He sings, where's the cliff edge? Tick, keep pushing the trolley, keep looking the other way. The cash point oozing disposable consumables. I hide the pin to my conscience, try to tell myself it doesn't matter. Tock, keep pushing the trolley, keep providing day to day. In the car park, there's a charity mannequin challenge for trainee assistant managers, apprentice shelf stackers and unemployed advert actors. They're singing, all we've got left. Tick, keep pushing the trolley, keep looking the other way. I'm a barcode Autobot, product overloaded. My default repeatedly eating what I can't feel. Tock, keep pushing the trolley, keep providing day to day. My consumerist obesity, cholesterol collaterals, and artificial artery shrapnel barrage of ready meals. I'm singing, one more small step. Where's the cliff edge? All we've got left, free falling dead.